Hello and welcome to the Austin Wedding Show. I'm your host, Jordan Bunch, and today we have a unique episode. Typically we have just one wedding vendor that we're featuring, but today's a really different kind of conversation because we're in a different kind of world right now, and I think it's really important that we have a reevaluation of everything that's going on with COVID-19 in the world of wedding planning. So if you're watching this, you're likely either a wedding vendor or a bride or groom who's planning a wedding and trying to figure out how to continue on with your wedding. Your choice to do this thing, to do this wedding, is not really even about the wedding. It's about being married to each other, and so the show must go on. And today we're going to have a conversation with some people who I hold in very high esteem in the wedding industry, and I'm excited to bring them to you. A little bit about me, if this is the first time you're watching the show. I am the owner of Ladybird Studios. We are a photography and filmmaking company here in Austin, Texas, based out of Round Rock. And we have about 10 people right now on our team. And so we do a lot of weddings. And we have done since May 16th. So today is the 21st. The day that we're filming this is July 21st. And since then, we've done about 12 weddings. So we have seen a lot of different things, a lot of different weddings happen since things have opened back up in Texas. And so we've got some different experience in what weddings can look like over the course of those 12 weddings that we've done so far. So I'm excited to share that with you as well. But let's start with my good friend, Ashley Moody.
I'm Ashley. I own Ashley Nicole Affair. And right now we're on track to do about 64 weddings this year. We have a bunch moving to next year. So really excited to talk about how we can really talk about how you're going to view those weddings, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like.
Hi, I'm Karen Moise, and I, with my husband, own Maison wedding venue in the Hill Country in Dripping Springs. We have been hosting weddings as well. We've probably already done maybe 10 weddings so far since we've opened back up. They have been fabulously attended events. They have been smaller, but they've been great. So we're trying really hard to work with everybody.
Hi, I'm Becky, Levin, Navarro. I own Pearl Events Austin. We're an event planning company. We do about 120 weddings a year. And I also own Woodbine Mansion, an event venue here in Round Rock, Texas. Since COVID has kind of changed our event planning world, and since we've opened back up, Pearl, we've done about 10 weddings, and Woodbine another 10, so 20 total that we've had experience planning.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for doing this, for making time to do this, and for making the space for us here in the amazing Woodbine Mansion. So we're going to start by talking to our two venue owners, and you've got a different experience also planning, and your team planning lots of weddings. So y'all have seen a lot of weddings already, 30 between the two of you and another 12 with me. So I'm curious, what are the things that you have seen? How have weddings changed? How are they the same? Tell us about your experience so far with weddings since we opened up in May.
I think probably one of the things that I was actually most surprised about is when people are coming to the wedding and they actually get there and they are excited. So the guests come in with a very elevated sense of excitement to want to have some normal back in their life. And it's really been refreshing, breathtaking. So,
I would say what we've seen: smaller guest counts. People are really excited to attend. Some socially distant measures happening at weddings. Well, they are happening at weddings. But overall, I mean, they look pretty normal. Like, you still have all the traditional things of a wedding, like the ceremony, the bridal party, the first dances, the toast, like all of these things are still happening. The main difference is vendors wearing masks, guests wearing masks, the dance floor. It's interesting because I still think the same group of people that would dance regularly are dancing. And people are like, I want my dance floor full. And I'm like, Aunt Joe was never going to dance. So, I mean, the same like 40 young people that were going to dance the whole time are still tearing up the dance floor. So I think, they're really happy and look pretty similar in the new normal of what we're seeing. I mean, I don't think it's unusual to see people out in masks anymore, or like having some cool dance floor prop shields on their faces, or, so it's just getting a little creative.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen a lot of the same in terms of like our timeline. That's kind of how we run our day as wedding photographers and videographers. And yeah, very much the same type of schedule. We've seen some really cool, unique things. Like we did an outdoor wedding that was under a tent, and they had 5 different micro dance floors around the tent. They, typically a lot of times at weddings, you get little party favors and things, and they had mason jars with some hand sanitizer and a red mask. That was the theme color of the wedding. So we've seen different things like that. We've as videographers, we've seen a lot of live streaming because a lot of people were planning on a bigger wedding and have decided to have less people at their wedding. And so that's been a big deal as well, is to be able to still have those family members, those friends who are, either just chose not to come, or you needed to uninvite, or they're more at high risk. They still get to enjoy the wedding. They still get to see it live. And so that's been a great thing as well. And we've even, the last one we did, we let the bride and groom came up right after the ceremony and got to say something to the guests who are watching at home. And the comments are getting filled up on the YouTube page and everything. So it's a cool little virtual interaction that happens, and people are talking with each other and telling them what kind of drink they're having while they're watching and all that kind of thing. But yeah, it's certainly been life goes on, and these people are eager to start their lives as a married couple, and they're getting to do that, and they're still getting to have very much their dream wedding. It just looks a little bit different.
I think like when you look at on social media and when you're looking at weddings, Instagram, Facebook live stories, I think a lot of people are thinking just because that there is a mask mandate, that's all you're going to see. And it's so funny because the only people who are like actually having to wear masks the whole time, because if you're not eating or drinking, you have to wear it the whole time, are vendors. And as a vendor, like we don't want to be in the photos anyways. Like I know being married to a wedding photographer that like my husband is like, if I have to Photoshop you out of like one photo. So like the only time where I've noticed on social media is like if I see a DJ in the background with a mask. But I don't think that like having a mask mandate, like first of all, that's not going to be forever. But since it is right now, like it's not taking over photos, it's not ruining photos. And we're like normalizing it, but if anything, it's just your vendors are constantly wearing it. Like your first dance, you're still having it. Your dinner photos, your detail shots, your wedding party's always been together. So like looking at albums, looking at it on social media, like it looks completely the same. Yeah,
it really does. We as photographers and filmmakers for the weddings, we see, our weddings still look the same. We have, there's a handful of guests who are wearing the masks, that are in some shots, but that's just kind of our world now, and
it'll be like that,
and it's going to be like that for who knows how long. And I think to put off the life that you're planning for yourself and in your marriage and all that kind of thing, because a few people in the background are going to have masks on, just seems a little bit silly to me, because the weddings have very much felt normal. And like you said, for group photos and everything, everybody's still getting to see everyone's face for those things. So.
And these people, like wedding parties, like they've already been together all week. They've done the rehearsal, they've done things. So at that point, their exposure's within that circle. So you're still going to be like close with your whole wedding party, bridegroom family, things like that. And so I just think that the guests who want to wear a mask, it's their level of comfort. It's like if they want to wear, a jacket outside or anything, it's not going to ruin the photo. It's just their decision. And I don't think, weddings really look much different. It feels, having it feel more intimate. I think the one thing out of like this whole sheltering and like quarantine thing is that like I appreciate low occupancy so much more. Like it's so nice when things like are only open a certain percentage, like, you don't have giant crowds, you don't feel overwhelmed. Like, and even in Texas, like the occupancy, it may be at 50%, but wedding venues are on so many acres that's still a really good, decent sized wedding.
Yeah. Well, and it is, we talk about a lot of times, people enjoy their rehearsal dinner evening as much as their wedding. And it's because it's just the people that they're closest with. They're very closest friends and family. And, you know, at least, you know, in a lot of people's experience, when they're having a really big wedding, there's people that are there that they hardly know anyways. You know, it's a parent's coworker that needed to be invited for political reasons or whatever, and those kind of things. And that's pretty easy and understandable to cut those things. I'm curious from a wedding planner's perspective, how are y'all coaching couples through that part of things? Is, you know, we had a wedding, we're going to have 300 people. Now we need to have 100 people. How are you coaching couples to sort of negotiate that with their guests and how to inform them that maybe you're uninvited?
We've done really nice stationery that looks very similar to a wedding invitation on the same like letterpress cranes paper. And we have said, you know, there's a lot going on in the world right now. We're, you know, keeping a smaller guest count. We'd love for you to join us. And then whatever the link is for the live streaming, we've done that. And then naturally guest counts have just tapered off as well. So if someone, I mean, I don't even know what the percentage is. I couldn't tell you of how many people the retention for invites is right now, but it's probably 50% possibly. And I think it depends a lot on what's going on in the news. So, you know, we had a wedding that was supposed to be 150. It ended up looking like it was going to be 100. That's the count that we turned in. And then, you know, the day before, it was all the news was talking about all the spike increase, and, you know, we dropped another like 20 or 30 people the day of the wedding. So there's not a magic number of like how many people are actually attending right now. But I think as people are getting more comfortable with wearing masks and us putting these standards, like having socially distanced rooms, this is what Karen and I were talking about, having socially distanced spaces for maybe parents of the bride and groom and their friends, that they will feel more comfortable. I was talking to a father of the bride this morning, and he said they were planning on not going to a wedding this weekend that was out of town they're driving to, but then they changed when the bride sent out something saying that they were going to have socially distanced areas and masks were required for those areas. And so they changed their RSVP to go. So I think just, you know, relaying to people that you care doesn't have to be, hey, we're changing our wedding. Because I've also had brides who will change their wedding like 2 months because they're like, hey, I want everyone to know that we're aware of what's happening in the world. We're changing our wedding, you know, a month from now. And I'm like, girlfriend, nothing's happening in a month from now, right? Like, I don't think anything's happening in a month from now. But I think it's just as thoughtful to say, hey, here's what I'm doing, and telling them ahead of time. That way they can make an educated decision if they feel comfortable going to your wedding, and putting that on your website or something like that.
We had a wedding that was live taped or live video, and that wedding was supposed to be like almost a 400-person wedding, and even at 50%, we're 300. So that's what our capacity is. But then they started getting a lot of people, again, declining after they had already RSVP'd. And what she did is she actually sent them a wedding box. And she had the cake baker actually make these little wedding cakes. And so she sent them basically, like Becky said, like the little nice invitation, but it had a little wedding cake in it, and it had 2 champagne glasses and a little bottle, like a half bottle of champagne. And so they're like, you know, pop the cork and eat cake with us, and then you watch it on the video. And so those people who are disappointed that really wanted those 300-person weddings, they're kind of still getting that then, and being safe and being smart.
I think that is a good point to kind of transition to talking about budget and talking about like, oh, we were going to invite 400 people, pay for plated meals, and then all of a sudden it's half of that. We're live streaming it. You know, really realizing that your budget is now having to be relocated into other things, which, you know, you can afford live streaming, you can afford maybe like a stage for your band, or, you know, something extra like a caricature artist, or, you know, beer burros, alpaca, things like that. And so I feel like it's kind of working itself out, like when it comes to the guest counts. Like I'm just seeing, like honestly, I'm just seeing that the guest counts, they bring themselves down. There's not like an A list, a B list. Okay, this many people. Like at this point in the game, whoever feels safe to come. But like from what I've seen 2 months ago, like we get news every single day. It hasn't changed. Like everything pretty much has been consistent. And so I think when people are going out into the world, going to weddings, seeing things, it's more normal. So then they're having to work with this new guest count, things to do, I mean, there's so many other things to do than dancing. Like, there's so many other like parts that you can do, or like here, you know, different rooms that you can have, you know, a lounge in one room. And like, honestly, when you really get to enjoy the whole space of a venue, I think it's so much better.
Maybe y'all could talk a little bit more about that budget piece of things, and how does the smaller guest count change the budget? As a, you know, as the photographer, videographer, I don't really have a bigger picture idea of some of those things.
Some of our caterers, what they've done is, you know, and they've, for the most part, a lot of them have paid 50%, 75% of the catering bill, and they're getting their food upgraded. So they're having, you know, like almost like a steak and shrimp dinner, or, you know, lobster. And they would instead of the chicken dinner, because they were going to have to do for 300 people. So now they're actually having, you know, a better, you know, plated meal, or, you know, whatever.
Or working it into, like, instead of just a cake, you know, having multiple cakes, or putting a cake at a table, or having a cupcake bar, or just really seeing how your money can be used to make it just as special for those who are at home, but just as special for the ones that are there.
I would say probably my best piece of advice for brides planning are figuring out when those counts and those drop dates for ordering things are due. So if you're locked into, I'm just going to throw out like a $20,000 floral budget, if you're able to reduce that and say that was for 200 people, if you're only anticipating 100 and you're able to reduce that up until a month before your wedding, you as the client needs to do their due diligence on like checking to see, you know, are these people going to start coming? So it does require, I think, a little bit more communication. It's not personal. I don't think it works coming from us, asking if people are coming to the weddings from the planner. Like, the parents or the brides need to start reaching out to people a little bit earlier, gauging their comfort level. We have on an RSVP that we've been sending out recently is like, how comfortable are you? Are you comfortable sitting next to the dance floor? Are you comfortable being potted with other people at a dinner table? Are you comfortable you know, just sitting at a bistro table, just you and your husband? So that way we're getting creative with how we're seating people. Like at ceremonies, if a family's been potted together, then we can keep, or like friends are potted together, then we can have a row of these people at this assigned aisle. And same thing, like those same people can sit together at dinner. So just feeling people's comfort level out. And then for budgeting, you know, going back to those vendors and asking, hey, when is everything due? So that way you know, I mean, contractually, like what you're locked into.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, like, in your opinion, when it comes to invites, I know traditionally it's like 8 weeks before. Or do you think that now it should be like a month before that, or even earlier?
No, I think 8 weeks is still fine. I think collecting the RSVP maybe a little bit earlier is better. But it changes. So that's the problem that we've been having. It's like, and I don't know the answer to this, and I'm sorry whoever's watching this, and I'm telling you I don't know the answer. That's what the bride this morning, I was like, I'm sorry, I just don't know anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because it's like we could collect invitations today, and, you know, in Texas we're at a low, but then in a month from now we could be at a peak, and then people might not feel so great about letting you know. So I don't know if there needs to be a catch-all email, like if your RSVP changes at beckyandtj.com, email me here, because what I've seen happen is they'll email a bridesmaid. And so then Karen has to relay the message to me, the bride, that I'm not coming. So there needs to be some way. So, and it could be the planner, it could be the mother, and maybe someone who's not emotional. So maybe father of the groom, father of the bride. Someone that won't be mad if like Karen all of a sudden tells me 2 days before, like, hey, I have a COVID case in my family, we can't come. Or, hey, we don't feel comfortable anymore. There needs to be some spot where people can relay that information to brides without them, you know, getting all out of whack when they get it.
I feel like no matter what, like any couple should just start with like a wedding email. And I notice, you know, a lot of couples doing that, but just like, and, you know, having that be like, you know, if things change, like, you know, putting on your invites, like if, you know, someone becomes positive or someone feels uncomfortable, and just making sure that, you know, like, there is one spot for all that communication.
And someone else, you hand it off to someone else to check it.
Yeah, give it to your maid of honor.
Give it to someone else to check it.
I think the advice we're giving is when we're doing tours and things like that, since we are in COVID, we tell everybody, you know, when you send your save the date out, you need to already have your website up.
Yes.
So have your website up and go ahead and start putting those details on your website, because you know you put your registry there, but go ahead and go ahead and start the conversation with your guests to see, this is what our venue does, for your safety and, things like that to actually help them feel a little bit more comfortable and informed.
You mentioned the upgraded meal with the budget, growing essentially, with the lower guest count, and you talked about the live streaming and the caricatures. I'm curious, what are other things that you're seeing, like what are other vendor categories that are sort of like rising to the occasion and doing something special and different right now?
I think photography is a huge one, because if people can't be there on the day of, having a really strong photography team to capture the whole entire day is really important if that wasn't already happening.
Yeah.
So you can share those images. Photo booths are a big one because you don't have to touch anything, right? They're all touchless, or they're right. That's an option.
I mean, I feel like there's so many things that you can do, like lawn games. You could, maybe do karaoke. You can have a projector screen of images. You can have dessert bars. I mean, we are the mecca of food trucks and all of the things. So instead of having, maybe just have multiple options. And I think that the more that you offer and spread it out on a venue, people are going to socially distance themselves. So if you have 2 different dessert vendors or a coffee bar, there's just so much that you can do, other things, and just really investing in, like she said, photo and video. You can do the live stream, you can have that, download it, but really just, being able to enjoy it afterwards, or if people aren't able to be there. But there's so many, I feel like I was researching this because I wrote a blog, but I feel like Austin is the most awesome way to come up with things to do. I had a bunch of bridesmaids. They were all from different states, and I brought up the groom surprise the bride with beer burros, and they're like, "What's a beer burro?" I'm like, every wedding I feel like has beer donkeys, and I haven't done the alpaca thing, but I love it. The petting zoos, I always get my son a petting zoo for his birthday, and the kids are never even in there. It's all the adults. Get a petting zoo, get micro pigs. There's so much to do.
I think this is our new normal. This is our life. We have to continue to live. Couples they're gonna get engaged. That COVID's not stopping engagement season. It's still happening.
Oh, and they are getting engaged. Book your venues and your vendors now, because they are getting engaged. Now you're all on top of each other.
Right. But it's a fact. This is where we live. We are going to have peaks and valleys. This isn't going to go away, I don't think, for a couple of years. Sorry, I just said that. It's true. When the vaccine does come out, healthcare workers and nursing homes are going to be the first ones to get it. So it won't be available for the general public. So there's going to be a delay there, and that delay is probably going to go until next year. So don't get all scared watching the news about all the badness. I'm telling you, collectively, we've done 50 weddings, and they have been amazing. And at the end of the day, the deed has been done. They are, they are married. They're a married couple, and can't stop love. So go for it.
I think, definitely. Just there should not be any type of pause. If anything, I feel like there should be more of a sense of urgency, but I do feel like the information is lacking, that people really think it's going to go away or the numbers are going to go down. And, when there's things like Disney World and SeaWorld and Typhoon, Texas, and bigger things that are open, I know personally from when we went to a resort, it's really hard for to keep your bubble with strangers. But when you're at a wedding, you are with your dates, your people, your family. And so it's just easier to keep it close. Going forward, just knowing that weddings may feel different, occupancy may be different, but overall, you just really got to keep planning, because at this point with all of the postponements, you could miss out on the photographer of your dreams because something had already happened. So make sure you're making deposits, you're locking your dates. Even when we had to do the shelter in place, those people who had they still got married. Yeah. They've been married. We just pushed a little bit. Your vendors are more than willing to work with you. If there's anything that scares you, just kind of be open about well, what do you do for your policy, or what's your, and just kind of ask that. But more than anything, this is normal. And once you get out there and once you go to a wedding, it feels normal.
Same thing as, I think the same people that are going to weddings are the people that are going to restaurants, or maybe going shopping at Target if they need something, going to H-E-B. I think it's unrealistic to think that your guests will come to weddings that are sheltering in place and haven't left their house this entire time. Like, those guests just aren't coming. But the people that are out and about in the world and are used to seeing people in masks and are maybe going to dinner and going and doing things, like, they'll come to your wedding. I think they will.
And the people that were sheltering probably weren't going to come anyways. I think a lot of people kind of don't, until you get married, you really don't realize that not everyone is going to come anyways. And so, like, the people are going to dance, are going to dance. The people are going to stay at home, they're going to stay at home. People are going to come, they're going to come. I don't think that it's going to change much with, we all just need to focus on that it's going to be okay. It looks, maybe a little different, but really it's fine. Like, everyone has fun at the end. It's just the same as it was in February. Like, I leave there and I'm like, it was so much fun. I actually needed that. I needed to see that to keep me going.
And, to your point about restaurants as well, it's, attending a wedding is not much different from going to a restaurant. And it depends on, obviously, at what level you're going to engage in the dancing and some of that kind of thing. But we do, my team, we do about 100 weddings a year, and we see that it's, about 10% of the guests that actually participate in dancing anyways, and so that's really not going to change. It's going to be about the same number of guests who are going to dance. Maybe a higher percentage actually are going to dance now of the people who are actually there. But those other people, they're going to be fine just sitting there, just like they would if they were, going to go out to a local restaurant, and they're going to be basically participating in the same activities. And people are starting to do that. As I drive around town, we're seeing parking lots at restaurants are full, and people are standing outside waiting for a table, and that's just, people are moving on with their lives and doing it in the way that they best feel is safe and responsible for them. And I think that's just kind of where we have to wrap our heads around, is life is going to go on.
One of our weddings did this, and y'all have probably seen it. They had armbands made. And so basically when they got to the venue, they picked an armband, and the armband was color coded. So red was, I'm socially distancing. So you don't have to, if you see a red armband, don't get in that person's bubble. And the green one was, I give out hugs. Hugs are okay. So it made it fun, but it was, like I said, it was also like a great idea that you would respect someone's bubble.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Didn't you have a yellow one too? That was
yes,
like,
I forget.
I want to talk to you, but
exactly.
It was
yes.
like
touching.
fist pumps or something,
yeah,
right? Or
yeah.
like air high fives.
Yeah.
I think for sure, talking about how you were talking about the seating earlier and talking about how that can look different but still look good. I think knowing like different seating arrangements, because like I think everyone, when they think of a wedding, they think of just like 10 rows like that. But I feel like there's so many more ways that it can look creative and beautiful. And we're really, going with the social distancing.
I mean, I've really enjoyed having 6 feet apart from the tables. It's so nice to be able, I'm sure it's great for photographers to get, to weave in and out. So that's been great.
Yeah, there's some things that I would just like to keep.
Right.
That's one of them.
Yes.
For sure.
I'm telling you, low occupancies where it's at, like this is a dream. Like, I feel like when you go do things, it's just, better. And
there's a different level of just how it feels, even to the couple and to the guests, low occupancy, regardless of what's going on in the world, because it sort of brings the pressure down, like when you have a massive, 400, 500 people wedding, it sort of feels like you're doing something different, whereas a smaller wedding, 100, 150 people, maybe smaller, 50 people, it feels like a more intimate thing where I can just more be myself, So I think that's certainly one of the benefits of low occupancy in general that's going to go on 10 years from now for those people who get to enjoy that.
Yeah. My biggest regret for my wedding is I didn't get to say hi to everyone. And it's because I couldn't stop getting off the dance floor. And like, I didn't say hi to like a lot of my husband's family who I'm super close with and people that came out of town. And I'm well aware, I didn't know then, I was just like in the moment being pulled in every which way direction. But you know, when it's 100 people, like I have a wedding on Saturday, it's 89 people. That's still a lot of people, you know? And I think that you can really spend time, since there are these like safety measures, that you can really focus on them and they feel more special, and you would have given them more attention than maybe, you know, like it's intended. It's intentional rather than before when like I just like skipped over because I just wanted to dance all night.
I think we should say that weddings inside right now, just today, what's today's date? July
21st, I think.
21st. Weddings are at 50% occupancy inside and unlimited occupancy outside.
Yeah.
Right? That's still where we're at.
And you don't have to wear a mask outside as long as you can socially distance.
Right.
Or inside when you're eating or drinking.
Right. Okay, just so everyone knows. So I'll go read, can I read over some of the ideas that our team has come up with?
Fantastic, I'd love that.
Okay, so ceremony ideas, I think we've gone over most of them, but align families or households to seat near each other or with each other at dinner and your ceremony. Spread out chairs between families or households. You can even assign them. Even if you're at a church, even, you know, the pews, like every other, assigned the Navarro families on this pew, Moody's families here. Set up a Zoom or live stream of the ceremony for guests. So, and you do this, right? Yeah. How much do people charge for live streaming? Or like, does it range?
Yeah, there's a range, and part of it depends on if you're doing one camera, it's very simple to do. Okay. But if, you know, what's popular for us is that we're doing a 3-camera shoot, because then we can get a tight shot of the bride and groom while they're saying their vows and that kind of thing. And the great thing too is that it's not just live, but it's viewing on demand later. So, you know, we do $1,000 for a 3-camera setup.
Okay. And what do they need for that? Is it a Wi-Fi?
Yeah, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, or, you know, if you're in a spot that has good cell service, we can even use just a hotspot. So, you know, a lot of times, a lot of these venues are out in the middle of nowhere, but they still have good service from a cell phone. And so we can actually connect our cell phone to all our software and run the live stream that way, and that's worked successfully as well.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So we're curious in the middle of someone's like farm or, you know, ranch, what it would be like.
Some places are a dead zone. And so what we did actually recently is we had a wedding that was at Texas Old Town, and we thought the Wi-Fi was going to work well, and it didn't. And so the live stream didn't go that well. So the very next day, that morning, my editor Marshall actually made their wedding video for them, and we delivered it to them that afternoon. So if that's the commitment that we've made to our brides and grooms, is that if the live stream doesn't work because of things that are outside of our control, because of the internet, then we're going to deliver that to them as soon as we can. In that case, it was the very next day.
That's magnificent. I think that's really nice.
I know.
Pre-wedding ideas. Make a bridal mask out of extra wedding dress material, if you choose to wear a mask on your wedding day. Send a stationery card to gauge the level of comfort of your guests and make the most efficient seating chart possible with that information that you get back. Send out a mini wedding cake to guests not attending the wedding. That was Karen's idea. Reception ideas. Assign a grandparent and parents to higher risk guest tables to allow for social distancing. So I would say those tables in general are like the furthest away from the dance floor and bar, right? Do you all agree?
Which I feel like they are anyways.
Right. I'm like, grandparents have never ever asked to be next to the dance floor.
Could you please put me by the speaker? Like,
that's what I was telling my bride this morning. I was like, it's really not that different, because I would never put like grandpa and grandma right there.
Yeah.
The people that are going to dance are always going to be there, and they're still going to dance. The colored wristbands. And then another vendor that we've actually been leaning on quite often is our stationery vendor to create signage. So I feel like your guests will follow whatever suit the bride and groom are doing. So if you are very transparent that you want people to wear masks the entire time or socially distant marks on the ground, you can have your stationery person make all that signage, and they're going to like listen to whatever you are doing.
Yeah.
The rope and stanchions between the DJ and the band. So we have had this come up, not at a wedding that we've done, but one of my friend wedding planners had a band, not feel comfortable performing because they thought the guests were too close, even though they were on a stage. So I think either, having a discussion and vendors should have discussions with other vendors on, hey, if people do take off their masks, will you stay? Like, what's your comfort level?
Yeah.
Because I think that that's a really important discussion for everyone to have right now. Because having a vendor leave me on a wedding day would be really hard. And I think that everyone needs to understand what's going on and what weddings might look like, and people might demask, and to make sure that those vendors that you're pairing with understand.
Yep.
And you're not put in a situation. But having some sort of like rope and stanchion to keep people away from the band and the DJ so they feel safe as well. Because people oftentimes just go up to them and yell in their ear, like, play Bon Jovi or Brick House, which is the worst wedding song in the world.
Just remember, yes, when there's a band, it's now like a concert. Like, you can't request songs
You
now.
can't go up on stage anymore. I think those are normal things. Like, you
Yeah.
can't go up and, yell at them to request songs. Maybe there's a number that you could text. Like, if the band or DJ wanted to put their number there and they could text requests if that's really important to them. But your bridal party is
in a bowl.
Your bridal party is not going up on stage and doing, Proud Mary together anymore. And then themed dance floor masks. Some, like, if I had the bottom of Jordan's face, like, put on a mask, and then I had his beard.
Yeah.
What I want to do, if I was getting married right now, but I'm a little weird, but I would totally have plain white ones, and then I would have, like, a painter there. And it would be like, make me a cat, make me so-and-so.
But it'd be pretty quick.
Face painting on your mask.
on
That's
the
cute.
mask.
Yeah, yeah.
I think something too that kind of needs attention is talking about like waivers and forms and stuff, and just not to be scared, when you go, we have to sign like waivers and forms before COVID that we're not going to ruin an antique floor or do anything. And with any event comes liability, and it's for your protection, but it's not something that you should be afraid of. And so if, I also do hair, and like if I, was going to do something for someone, sometimes I'd have it in writing, like, this could, maybe bleach, I know what I'm doing, I'm professional, but this bleach could hurt your hair, just to let you know. And they'd sign it and it'd be fine. So like if you get like any type of waiver, just be honest. It's like going to the doctor and filling it out. Like, have you been out of town? Like, have you done this? Have you done that? I think we're going to see that a lot more. I think it's normal. I think it's an attempt at how we can gauge how we can make things better and learn from, having waivers and liabilities and things like that. But I don't think that it's something that anyone should be worried about or, be caught blindsided filling out.
Yeah.
People have also asked about insurance during this time. I don't think any insurance covers COVID at this point. If you're to get
it covered pre,
Yeah.
but
during the
just if brides
shutdown,
are
it covered
watching,
it. And I've also noticed today when I actually pulled off a liability that for some other cancellations, they now at the maximum is $1,000 that they will reimburse you.
I was about to say, you can't get cancellation insurance right now, can you, in Texas?
You can,
Okay.
but it's only going to be
$1,000.
$1,000, and it's not going to cover. I mean, it would be like a death in the family and things like that, non-COVID. So
Yeah.
they're still covering that.
I mean, I think that whenever you go to the grocery store, you're risking exposure. Whenever you're doing things like getting gas, like you don't think that you are, but you are. And so it's not really much different as long as you're being safe, being cautious, sanitize, things like that. I mean, I just think that you have to realize that life, does go on. It can still be fun. We're all going to adapt to it. My husband and I went to Tokyo before we had our son, and like, we were the outcasts because we weren't wearing masks. And like, to be honest, it was so cool because everyone was like on the subway. It was quiet. It was respectful. It was normal. And like, I'm sure at a point they didn't wear masks before, but like to see it, like it's completely normal.
No, they've been wearing masks for years.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this was like
Yes.
in like 2012.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was just a level of respect. And like, they just went up on their thing, and that's how, people see it. And I didn't actually feel weird. I felt more weird because I didn't have one. And I think we may, people who still want to wear them in the future, they can. It won't be mandated forever. I think we're all kind of doing our part and still trucking on.
We've talked about life going on, and certainly engagements are going on. I've seen my fair share of them on Facebook, on Instagram, and we've actually had requests, because as photographers sometimes we get called to shoot those things. So for someone who's just been proposed to, and they're starting to think about this, I think it's important to help them understand, that if you're planning on getting married sometime in the next 2 years, you better jump on this quick, because we have just had several months worth of weddings of couples that are now moving their dates to other dates in 2021 and even some in 2022. So these dates that were there are now filling up much faster than they have in previous years. And so there is a very finite number of dates. And particularly if you have, you mentioned the dream photographer or the dream wedding venue, or that you need that planner, you better jump on it, because all of our dates are filling up so much more quickly going forward. And so, yeah, what's y'all's thoughts on that?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, like, we have not stopped. Engagement season's been pretty hard going on right now, and they're still booking. So they're already booking. So, but you're right, they're booking later in October or later in the fall of 21. But we're almost completely already booked anyway. Yeah. So get on it, get booked.
When there's I would say start with a venue that you love. Try to see if you're flexible on dates, but you really lock in your venue, lock in, your date, lock in the planner. I think that the planner can really guide you to what's being done, vendors' policies, things like that. But when there's a one-person team, there's only one photographer, or there's only, I really just have to have this DJ or this band, focus on who can do one wedding at a time, and then, kind of prioritizing catering, floral, and things after that. They're still important, still lock it in, but at the same time, just really, really focusing right now, venue, date, going forward.
And I think, to your point here, if you were planning on having the DIY wedding, this is probably not the best time to do that. To me, this is the time where, okay, well, now I've got some extra room in my budget because I'm going to cut my guest list down a little bit. That's a thing that if I was planning on DIYing it, hey, I can afford a planner now, and that is going to be worth its weight in gold right now, because of all the things that you're not thinking of that they have had lots of experience going through because of this, and they're going to help you navigate those things and navigate through, figuring out who are the vendors. And we've seen some wedding vendors who, they've not been able to survive this financially as a business. And these are the kind of things that wedding planners are aware of, and helping to know, hey, here's the businesses that are clearly going to survive this thing. And when you book with them, you can have supreme confidence to know that they're still going to be here for your wedding in the fall. So, I just think that's paramount right now. And even if you didn't think you had the budget for it, now you probably do.
Yeah, I think I would not say that summer is normally engagement season. It's not for us in Texas. Yeah. Engagement season is always around the holidays. So our big surge will come, Thanksgiving, usually in the fall, kind of when football season picks back up, we pick back up, and Christmas, all the holidays. So this is not a normal engagement season. I think people have been quarantining together, and now they're ready to get back out. And I'm just seeing engagements pop up all over the place. We have more leads coming. So what I think is going to happen is brides, as they get more, all of our brides from March, April, May that had to postpone to the fall will start having their weddings. People will start to feel more comfortable seeing that we're all doing all these weddings. And then the boom's going to hit of all the brides that were waiting, plus all the new engaged brides, plus all the ones that postponed again. So I would say, if there's a venue that you have your eye on, if there's a photographer, if there's a planner, you need to start booking those vendors before someone else snatches them, because they're just waiting right now until they feel I don't know what's going to make them feel comfortable. It's probably all these weddings that are about to start happening. And then it's just going to just come in like crazy, I imagine.
Well, what I feel is we all lost our spring. And so for us, wedding season, we don't, we always vacation in July. We don't have, our summers are open time. But for us, our spring moved to the summer. And so we're just in this weird limbo of things. Because you're right, the most popular engagement dates from, I think it's out of 14, 9 of them are Thanksgiving to Valentine's Day. And so you really have to think that, especially this fall, if you're going to get engaged, maybe don't shoot for, like try, gauge it for 2021, but, things could be booked. But really rely on your vendors. Like if you love a photographer and they're booked, and be like, you know what, like I really like your style. Do you know someone? I think more than anything during this time, our vendor relationships, we've really spent so much time getting to know like each other's policies. So like, oh, I love, your venue, but you're booked. Well, what do you recommend that's like it or within my budget? And so like, even asking those that like, if we're not available, who we'd recommend still that may be available.
We actually just had a bride book here short term. So, there's a lot of these elopements still happening, and we never had this date in September was available. And she just booked it, for this September. So I think that there's that too, because there is so much unknown. And as, the cases are going down, she's like, let's just do it. 100-person wedding,
In
So
May, yeah, I booked in
I think
August.
if you could, even if you're interested in a short-term booking, then like maybe you get yourself a deal.
Right. Get on.
Is what I'm saying.
And if you're gonna get a planner, like if you're reworking your budget, like you're not doing it anyways, so just make them plan your wedding in 3 months, Don't maybe try to do sooner rather than later, because, our 2021, it's just getting so hectic, and until people go out there, like this is what I'll just tell people, because I know some people that are terrified, and so I always ask people like where you feel about things, but until you go out there and you do things yourself, you realize that you can be cautious and still be safe. And I think until more people get out there, we just need to get everyone out there, realize they can have weddings, everything's going to be fine. But, at this point, 2021 is already getting crazy. So I like your point. Maybe go for a little bit sooner.
I mean, if the date's open and people have moved, then jump on those opportunities.
For sure. There's a lot of even like, I'm seeing venues with like, like people in the fall postponing. I'm like, we just had like my husband open up 10/10/2020. He's had that booked for 2 years.
Us too.
Yeah.
Like I seriously like jump on like all of these really awesome opportunities, because just know that it's probably not gonna, like when I think about like
Saturday in October for probably 2 or 3 years out
Oh,
at this
ever.
point. So I'm like, if you feel
Yes.
comfortable, let's go.
last October, the October before, I already had 13 booked for it. So like if you want, a fall, like you got to book it early. But at this point, they're opening up, and it's actually incredible opportunities. I think it's really cool, like that you could still, elope if anything, if you're but you can still have everything pretty normal.
Absolutely. I want to give a quick shout out. So if someone who's watching this wants to know where to find out more about Woodbine or Pearl, where do you want to send them?
Instagram.
Yeah.
I like our Instagram.
You have great Instagram.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I work on those captions. There's 3 of us that work on those captions.
You're
all
good
the
at the
time.
stories too. I like your
Oh
stories.
yeah, thank you. We try to post a lot of stories, and right now I really want to just showcase vendors that are doing weddings. So I think if you're a vendor watching this, there's some shaming going on in our industry, which I'm not fond of, and I would love to see weddings happening. So if you tag us, then we'll repost. Because I mean, did y'all see even the Royals got married last week?
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
So Pearl Events ATX is our Instagram, and Woodbine Mansion is Woodbine.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say Instagram also. We try to actually we update it every day. Not quite with the snappy little quotes, but yes. So Maison.
Well, it's your brand. You got to go with whatever your brand is.
So Maison. And then our website is actually themaison.com. So lots of information on that as well.
For me, Instagram too, at Ashley Nicole Affair. I hope you like cats. I post a lot about my cats. Other than that, weddings too. But no, I think it's a really good idea, like for you to post other vendors and just showcasing, weddings and things like that. And I'd love to do that too. Or if people want to reach out as far as like asking a question about like planning, or if they have a question about things that we talked about or things we've seen, or a suggestion too, let us know. I am trying to like blog more about topics about this. So if there's anything that like you guys want more info on, I try to pull all of the vendors and kind of put in, more of what everyone else is doing. Because I really do feel like at this time, like as vendors, we've all gotten really close, and our whole intention is just to take care of our couples. So.
Yeah. Even today, I was on a Zoom chat with 6 other wedding vendors. this morning. I think you did the same thing
Yeah.
probably. You can find out more about us also at Instagram at Ladybird Studios and ladybird.studios.com. But this show is hosted on Let me start over. But this show is hosted at theaustinweddingshow.com. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. This is the first season, so we have several other episodes that you can check out and see some more exciting weddings. We've done some really cool weddings, so definitely check out our other episodes as well. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.